And we welcome you into Dodger Poke Report, where this afternoon we have a very special guest. Dylan Nasiatka, the hitting coach for the Great Lakes Loons, joins Dodger Poke. So, Dylan, I said Nasiatka correct, right? So, welcome into Dodger Poke Report.
Thank you. Yep, that's perfect, Nasiatka.
Well, we're off to a good start, so let's continue on. Let's tell your story a little bit. You grew up in Bakersfield, of course. I'm an Oklahoma boy, so when I read that, you grew up in Bakersfield, which is about 2 hours north and maybe a little bit east of Los Angeles, and you love to fish, that one hit home for me. So talk about growing up in the Bakersfield area.
Yeah, growing up in Bakersfield, I think as far as the fishing goes, it's just something that I ran into. My dad took me out fishing as a kid, went camping a lot, and there's a river that runs through Bakersfield, the Kern River, and really great trout fishing river, especially up in the canyon. So my dad and I spent a lot of time there. And yeah, fished, played baseball, and that was kind of life in Bakersfield.
Man, what a wonderful way to grow up, with all the modern technology and kids with their noses on screens nowadays. Playing baseball and fishing, I can't think of a better way to grow up. But you went to high school in the Bakersfield area at Stockdale. You were an absolute standout there. You went to Bakersfield College out of high school, where you set the school's all-time record, 473 average. You're an ABCA Junior College All-American, California Community College All-American, All-Pacific Coast, all those great things. So talk about your decision to stay local and to go to Bakersfield College.
Well, yeah, Casey, I was actually a late bloomer. And so I really didn't start to mature physically until late my junior year of high school. My junior year, I had, I don't know, 10 at-bats or something as a junior in high school. And so as a senior, it was really my only year playing varsity baseball. And I was okay. I made a transition to catching at that point. Really, the defense was pretty subpar. So I didn't have any options, and had been approached by Bakersfield College and said they had interest in having me up there, and, said, hey, we think you can catch as a freshman. So went in there. And it was a really good fit. The head coach that was there, he actually just retired, Tim Payton, had a good track record with getting players in and developing players and getting them out. So I actually went up to see Bakersfield College play, and I watched their freshman catcher at the time, and I'm thinking, man, this guy's like really good. And my sophomore, or actually my freshman year up at Bakersfield College, I was probably the third string catcher my first year.
It's an eye opener, isn't it?
Yeah, the returning catcher had, kind of a life kind of got in the way, and he had to leave the team. So I got bumped up to the second string catcher, and I was catching once every 4 or 5 games. And the first string catcher goes down, had a bruised knee, and so all of a sudden I'm playing every day. And really, if it wasn't for that happening, I'd probably never get a stretch to hit. So it just was kind of, unfortunate events for other people, but luck on my part to get a chance to get in there and get comfortable and work at it. And so, yeah, I had a really good time there, and they treated me really well at Bakersfield, and really fortunate to go through there.
Played well enough to get noticed by Division I colleges. You end up transferring to Hofstra. That's a long ways away. So first of all, how did you choose Hofstra? And second of all, you were second in the team in stolen bases. So were you fast, or were you fast for a catcher? There's a difference there, right?
Yeah, well, that one's pretty funny. I redshirted at Bakersfield. I tore up my shoulder, had shoulder surgery the second year I was there. And so my third year at Bakersfield, I'm playing, and really my shoulder didn't feel right, and I still wasn't throwing right. And I was kind of worried, man, my career is probably over here. I'm a catcher who can't throw. And, I was swinging the bat okay. Hofstra came in and saw me, and I kind of told myself, if I get a D1 opportunity, I think I'm going to jump on the first one I get, because I'm really not sure about this whole shoulder thing. And, as it went, they offered me a scholarship, and I took that. And funny thing is, my shoulder actually got a lot better. So yeah, I went out there to play, and The stolen bases, it was just very aggressive mentality there. Most of those were stealing third base. I
Oh,
led
really?
off. I led off a lot of games, and so I would get on. They had a great strength conditioning program. I was in really great shape, probably running the best I ever ran. And yeah, a lot of those were probably, I would say 6 or 7 of those 8 were third base. Just kind of, lulling the defense to sleep and then getting some momentum into the jump and taking third base when I had opportunities there. But really aggressive mindset base running at Hofstra.
So you have a good career at Hofstra now. I'm sure you've gotten to meet John Rooney and Austin Gothier. I think I'm saying that correct, but both Hofstra guys in the Dodgers organization. Had a chance to meet them?
Oh, of course, yeah. We've shared some Hofstra stories, and just a different element out there getting ready for a season. There's snow on the ground. It's cold, and similar to here, I guess. So we've definitely swapped some stories about our time there.
Rooney was just pitching in a men's league and just playing baseball just to play baseball because he loved it. And the Hofstra coaches were doing a fundraising event in New York City and just happened to see him while he was pitching in that men's league. So kind of a cool story for him, how he ended up in Hofstra. But you transfer from Hofstra then to UC Santa Barbara. That's correct, right?
No. University of South Carolina, Beaufort.
Okay, South Carolina, Beaufort. Okay.
Yep. So an NAI school in South Carolina, got out of the cold into a little better climate. I had used the redshirt year, knew that I had to change levels leaving that school, had the opportunity to catch full-time there. Really great experience. Head coach there, Brian Llewellyn, who's now the athletic director and head coach at, I believe it's Pensacola State College. But he was an assistant coach there. The head coach was Rick Sofield when I signed to go to South Carolina Beaufort, and Sofield ended up getting an offer to coach in the Pirates organization, and I think a couple years later was the third base coach for the Pirates. So he left the team, and Llewellyn took over the reins, and we had a lot of great players, a lot of Division I bounce backs, a lot of players who were NAIA players for 4 years, that had really blossomed into really good players, and collection of really great guys. We had the opportunity to play in the NAIA World Series in Lewiston, and definitely a year I'll never forget. Reignited my passion in baseball, and really fortunate that those guys took the opportunity on me.
I'm assuming you had a lot of opportunities after you graduated and ended your playing career, but you end up going back to Bakersville College, where you become an assistant coach for 8 years until you got the job here with the Dodgers.
Yeah, well, I had 2 opportunities. It was, hey, do you want to stay on here in South Carolina and coach, or the other one was head home, and I decided to head home, kind of in between career. What am I going to do with my career? Baseball, I didn't want to. I was pretty banged up at the end of things. The throwing was an issue again, so knew that I wasn't going to continue playing baseball. And so head coach Tim Payton, he called me and said, I'd love to have you back here on my staff. And I said, absolutely. So I came back to Bakersfield in 2012, immediately am coaching hitters, and my first year after playing, and he gave me full reign with hitters there. So it was a lot of learning, a lot of growth. In my time at BC, I coached hitting every year, but I coached catchers. We had a couple of years where it was just myself and the head coach, and I coached infielders and outfielders and base running.
Drove the bus.
And, really cut my teeth, and mowed the infield, and took care of the facilities, and it coaching junior college is just about the best start you can get, I think, in baseball.
You learned just about every element. You probably announced a couple games on the radio too, and probably were a cook and dad and all that all in one. I'm very familiar with all of those roles that you have, and it's so fun because you have such an impact in their lives, don't you?
That's a really critical time, yeah, and that's, I think, what really drew me back to coach there was the impact the 3 years that I had at Bakersfield had on me, and so just to have that opportunity at such a critical part in the young men's lives, and yeah, just another, great experience for me.
So you get hired on in 2020. That season gets canceled for the Dodgers. Well, it got canceled for all the minor leagues, but you get hired on in 2020. What was your assignment going to be that year?
I was going to be in Ogden. Yeah, I would have been, our manager would have been Tony Capicilli in Ogden at rookie advanced. And yeah, that was a whole crazy another thing.
So what did you do during that? I've asked all the players, and they, it's amazing how they had to scramble to find facilities to go work out. And so what does a coach like you do during that period?
Yeah, we had really fortunate. We had kind of teams set up. And so I was calling basically the players I have now. They were going to be a lot of the players I was going to have in Ogden. So I'm calling them, sending video back and forth, having a lot of Zoom chats. We're talking about different things that maybe during the season we don't have time to talk about, a lot of different things, looking at pitchers and looking at their daily routines and trying to get some swing work done via Zoom. So we had a lot of time spent doing that. I probably spent 3 days a week after things started calming down in the cage with Craig Wallenbrock.
Very nice.
And our hitting coordinator at the time, Chris Anarixa. So I was down there 3 days a week for 3-4 months. And, just kind of absorbing as much information as I could get from them.
2021, you're assigned to be the hitting coach for the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes. And then that takes us to this year, 2022, where you're with the High A Great Lakes Loons. So before we get into some of the players on the Loons team this year, which I love watching the Loons hit, and we'll get into more of that here in a little bit. Just kind of, if you would, give us a broad description of maybe what your hitting philosophy is overall.
For us, it's really, number one, stepping to the plate with a plan, figuring out, what are the terms that I'm going to establish as a hitter? Where am I okay swinging? What am I okay swinging at? And, what am I sort of looking for? And, and so for us, I think, you've hit on it a little bit. We want to use the big part of the field. But at the same time, the quickest way to runs is hitting the ball for damage too. So we're, I think with the way this league works, early in the season, you really just want to find a way to put the bat on the ball and pick up hits and get on base. Now, as we're entering more of the summer, the ball is flying a little bit better. We're in better environment. So, now we're starting to see some guys open it up a little bit. But for us, it's really just about maximizing, given the game situation, given the pitcher and the hitter, maximizing our output. So it can change with everybody based on what the pitcher's throwing and based on the skill set of the hitter. But just trying to give these guys the best opportunity for success and in their careers.
The Loons have a lot of international players on them, a lot of the highly ranked international players. So you have just a big mix of guys from all different places throughout the world, quite frankly. So, there are a whole bunch of different hitting philosophies that all these different guys grew up with. So is it tough meshing that into one philosophy?
No, well, I wouldn't say we try to mesh it into one philosophy. That's kind of where we have a more individualized type approach. And there are hitters that are very focused on, maybe a batting average, and maybe some of the guys that might have a little more pop are a little too focused on just putting the ball in play, and the other way too. Some guys who maybe need to put the ball in play a little more are focused on just hitting the ball over the fence. So it's not that we have a one thing that we march to. It's more like we're looking at the athlete, we're looking at the player and saying, what's best for him based on what he has. Craig Wallenbrock says, hitters are kind of like different size cups, you get. So there's a 12-ounce cup, and, a hitter like Miguel Cabrera, Mike Trout, they're a big gulp. Yeah. That big gulp's darn near full. But if you got a 12-ounce cup and you fill it up, you're doing pretty good. Yeah. There's a lot of players in the big leagues with the 12-ounce cup doing just fine. So, but what we don't want to have happen is you have a big gulp size cup and you only got 6 ounces in it because you're doing something you're not capable of. So we're just trying to really get that skill set tune it up best for them in those situations.
You know, it's different for every organization because each different level has its own pitching coach, has its own hitting coach. So how does the coordination work within the Dodger system? Does each hitting coach get to do what they want, or is there an umbrella that you have to kind of live underneath for all of you guys? Are you guys all teaching the same things? How does all that coordination work between different levels?
I would say there's some overarching principles within our organization based on what we want the swing to do, what we see in some of the main principles of the swing, based on the approach as well. So there are some key factors we're all striving to achieve. Of course, we all have our own little flavor
Sure.
for how we spin things, but the big thing with the Dodgers is there's a lot of continuity between hitting coaches. We all have, not that we have similar backgrounds, because Brett Pill in Double-A had a really great career, great career that spanned into the major leagues. And a guy like myself who, played in college and coached college hitters, what we both have is we have some similarities in our backgrounds of training and core philosophies. So the handoff is really simple. We speak a very, very common language between us. And so hitters aren't confused all the time. We're on the same page. We communicate a lot. And it's not necessarily about, well, this hitting coach teaches you this and this hitting coach teaches you that. It's really that we could almost trade places at any time and still keep our hitters on track. That's the goal here.
That's fantastic. So let's get to the 2022 Great Lakes Loons. You have, I believe right now is the most top 30 prospects that Great Lakes has had in like 2 or 3 years. So you have a very talented team that you're getting to coach right now. Let's start with your infielders, Eddie Leonard and Alex DeJesus, who just recently got promoted, Zach Ching, Max Hewitt, who's very dear to me. Of course, I'm a huge Oklahoma State fan. I grew up in Stillwater, and I got to see his entire career at OSU. And I can tell you this right now, I grew up in the 80s when OSU was unbelievably good in baseball. I do not have more respect for anybody else in the world other than Max Hewitt. Wonderful young man. So talk about your young infielders offense.
Yeah, you don't forget Jorbit Vivas.
Yeah, so Jorbit, yeah.
That's another one that you could forget about him because he's kind of a silent assassin of sorts. He's quiet, but he's really, really talented. Yeah, there's a lot of talent in this group. There's a lot of excitement. They all bring their own, like I said earlier, kind of skill set. DeJesus, he's got game-changing ability. He's got extreme just work ethic is fantastic. His focus is incredible. And at any moment, he's going to come up with he could come up with a big extra base hit for you. Eddie's is another guy, a lot of excitement there. If you make a mistake, he'll make you pay. At the same time, he's he's dynamic, and he's got really, really just lightning quick hands. Vivas, absolute fantastic control of the zone. He great ability to contact baseball and play too. And he's a guy that every day you know what you're going to get. You're going to get the same guy. He's going to go out there and give a really professional effort every night. Max Hewitt is Canadian born, which is kind of funny for OK State player. But Hewitt's great. He's a guy that's just getting his feet wet at the affiliated baseball, and he's already made some nice adjustments. He's figuring out, what the league kind of offers, as well as like how he can best mesh into that. Emanol Vargas for us is a guy who's been swinging the bat really well. He's last year, I think, opened some eyes in Rancho. I think he hit 17 home runs last year. And this year, off to a slow start early. Lately, he's really turned it on.
Last month has been amazing, hasn't it?
It's been incredible. He's really controlled the zone well. And another guy that you make a mistake and he can make you pay. So that infield it's very dynamic in a lot of different ways. These guys, they work really hard. They're really focused. They mesh really, really well. They're great guys to work with.
Your outfielders, Johnny DeLuca is tied for the organizational lead in home runs for 13. I hope I don't leave one off, but if I do, just correct me and go ahead and add them in at the end. Jose Ramos, who just recently got moved up, what a dynamic player he is. He made one of the greatest catches I've ever seen about a month ago. And then Edwin Mateo, Ismael Alcantara, and Aldrich DeJong, which I got to see in Oklahoma City for about a week last year. I call him the lightning bolt because watching him play is like a bolt of lightning. So talk about your outfielders.
Yeah, that's another great group, and it's kind of cool. Like at the affiliate here, I help with a lot of the defense with the outfielders, so it's really fun to get to see the intent those guys put into their ground ball work, their fly ball work. These guys get after it. So I guess kind of just the guy that comes to mind, starting with like Alcantara. Absolute exciting player. He's got a really high motor. He busts his butt down the line in the outfield. He takes really good routes. He's really aggressive. Then you've got Ramos, who's got one of the best throwing arms that's in professional baseball. Like you mentioned, he has the ability to make the big time highlight play, both with his arm and with the bat. Another guy that, if he gets a good pitch to hit, can really elevate the baseball and send it a long way. Edwin Mateo, he's another kind of really consistent. You know what you're going to get every day. He's going to show up. He made a fantastic play yesterday
to end the game.
Yeah, Kyle Hertz, 5-inning no hitter, ball in the gap. We couldn't believe it. It was a perfect route, perfect play.
Made it look easy, didn't he?
He did, yeah. And switch hitter, a guy that probably doesn't get enough.
Oh, I didn't realize he was a switch hitter. Okay, very good.
Right, yeah. Left-handed thrower, but switch hitter doesn't really get enough recognition, I think, for what he does. He's very baseball savvy. He gets on base a lot, and he's got some pop in his bat too. And then DeLuca's just the guy. He's kind of the total package. He's a plus runner. He's got a good arm. It's very accurate. He's got a ton of pop in his bat, ridiculous pop in his bat. So he's a guy that, as he's kind of adjusted with the league too, I think we're going to see some good things from him here shortly.
Yeah, and then let's go to your catcher spot, and of course, the recent promotion of the Dodgers' #1 prospect in the entire organization, Diego Cartaya. Another guy that I really like, I've had a chance to feature, is Ryan January. I call that the January journey, because when you look into his story, it's an amazing, some of these minor league stories are so amazing if you actually dive into them. So Ryan January, and then Juan Zabala, who you had, I guess you had for about 2 weeks. He's back down, I believe, on the developmental list. And then Kekai Rios, I think I'm saying that correctly, but Kekai Rios, the Hawaiian as well, from your catcher spot. So talk about your catchers.
Yeah, so Kai's name is Kamalai Okekai. All right, I think I said it right. I believe it means Prince of the Sea.
Very nice.
Yeah, he's
only here on Dodger Poke do you get that kind of stuff, right? Oh, that's fantastic.
He's a great guy. So Kai Rios is a guy that he's come into the organization and just absorbed information, both on the hitting and the receiving and defensive side. And he's done a great job behind the plate. He's tough as nails. All of our catchers are really, really tough. Zabala, this is kind of a funny story, was just traded to the Padres.
Oh, really?
So he was traded on Saturday night. And so he came in on Saturday night. We all said goodbye to him. He grabbed his stuff and he walked to the other clubhouse. And on Sunday, he was in the other dugout.
I've seen that a time or two, and that is the weirdest thing, isn't it?
It was. And he's just a fantastic guy. We wish him well. He was here with us all year, just doing everything possible to help everybody out in the pitching staff. And so he's a great guy. We wish him well. January, of course, has just fantastic thump in his bat, big time hitter, a guy that behind the plate does a really good job communicating with the pitching staff and works his butt off with receiving. And, he's a guy that's always another one that's just one bad pitch away from putting some runs up on the board for us. And then, Cartaya coming in. I was fortunate to have him last year for about 40 games, I think. And he's kind of the total package. He communicates really well with the pitchers. with the staff, with as a hitter, he's just as dangerous as can be. He's got a real presence to him in the box, and so he's just really, really exciting. They're all really exciting. They're great. It's a great group, and can't say enough about the catchers.
Wanted to finish it up by talking about your manager, Austin Chubb. I'm sure he is just a joy to work for. I got a chance to talk to him. Very impressed with him. So talk about getting to work with Austin Chubb.
Chubb he's amazing. The same energy every day. He makes you feel great about being at the yard. He's going to make you laugh. He's going to be very, very prepared, whether it's the pitching matchups, whether it is the hitters that are hot versus the hitters that are not. He's got great observations for the hitting. He's works his butt off. He's in the cage. He's out on the field. He's moving around, fights for his guys. He's always, just on point with everything. So he's been so great to have here. I've learned a ton from him. He's been in the organization, I think now for, this might be his 9th year, 8th or 9th year. And he's got a ton of information. He has a really great background. He's spent a lot of time working with a lot of international players and has
he coached a summer in the DSL.
He did, yeah. And then he was in Puerto Rico this last year as bench coach.
Yeah, he was. That's right. Yeah.
He has a lot of useful, helpful nuggets there, and but he's hilarious. Yeah, he's just a great guy to be around.
And Great Lakes puts off a great environment, don't they? That's a fun place to play.
It is, yeah. The staff here, the general manager, from the general manager on down, everybody here is top notch, really professional.
Hey, Dylan, I appreciate it. I've taken quite a bit of your time. I know you're very, very, very busy. This is your off day, so I'm sure that you have a lot of things to do, so I'll let you go. But thank you so much for joining Dodger Poke.
Casey, thank you so much. Appreciate it.